I want to share this quick training with you that I offered to parents at a recent conference. And I think it's an interesting one because we are seeing an increase in challenging behaviors that are detrimental to kids' learning, detrimental to other kids. And it's very frustrating for families to figure out how best to help the children. About 9 years ago, maybe more, I had a mentor tell me that much of the behaviors we see, 75% are impacted by the environment. So we have to clean up the environment. And so I came up with this fishbowl analogy. So let's go through it, see if it's helpful. And again, this is not meant to shame or to blame. It's meant to bring awareness to what could be contributing to some behaviors that we may want to end. So if you have a fish that's sick in a fishbowl that looks like this, what would you do? Do you take the fish out and give the fish a bath and give the fish some medicine and put the fish back in the dirty water? Of course not. That's not what we do to fish, right? What we do is we clean the water. And when we clean the water, the fish feels better. And what's cool about a fish is when a fish is in the water, he does not know where the water starts and the water stops. In fact, the water goes through his mouth, out his gills, and he is one with the water. He only realizes the water is there when he's pulled out of the water. Now, why am I bringing this up right now, talking about children? Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, humans are the same way with other humans, especially children with adults. Children will link to adults' emotional well-being, emotional state, without even realizing it. So if you're anxious, they will feel anxious, but they won't be able to say, I'm anxious. They will feel anger, but they may not be able to say why they're so easily frustrated. This is actually even true for adults. If you are married or if you have a good friend and they sit down beside you without saying a word and they are angry or they're short with you, you will start to be like, dude, what's up? What is going on? Or you may feel uncomfortable. So with a sick fish, we clean the water. And that's where we're going to use this analogy today. So children grow in relationships, and this is pretty neat. The environment becomes part of them. And it's one of these things that is true for all of us. But if you're in a healthy environment, you have healthier strategies. If you're in a toxic environment, you have a very strong chance of developing those toxic strategies. Remember, when a baby is born, its brain is only 33% the size it will be when it's an adult. And then by the age of 3, it's at around 80% the size. Um, and then around the age of 5, there are two statistics, 90% by 5 or 95% by 5. And the reason there's a discrepancy, if you are a nerd like me, is one is looking at brain size, meaning the literal size and weight of the brain, and one is looking at brain connectivity. Two different studies, two different ways of looking at it. Um, Most people don't care there's a difference. People like me, we care and we want to know why. But most people are just like, yeah, 90% by the age of 5, that's important. Actually, 80% by the age of 3 is more important because that birth to 3 is when that human to human attunement, in other words, human to human connection is so strong. That is when they are linked up so tight with their primary caregivers. Okay. So a child is around their community. A child is around those relationships. If they go to child care, if they go to school, there are some schools, and I have been blessed to walk in over 100 schools, supporting teachers with behaviors and supporting schools with different initiatives. And there are some schools that I can walk into and I would stay there all day. And there are other schools that I am stepping over children to get out of there because it feels so toxic. Feels. The fishbowl is dirty. There are sometimes I'm working with a child and immediately I'll make a note, and that note is fishbowl, meaning the classroom has an issue or there is an issue. The family may be going through some tough times. A lot of times, children can't say, hey, the adults in my life are not okay. Can y'all get some help? Instead, they're the barometers of our stress, and they act out, showing us that they are feeling it, but they can't put words to it because they're kids, not adults, and they're not meant to understand adult stresses and adult issues, if that makes sense. But anyways, this is important. Our children grow in relationships. In fact, we don't grow outside of relationships. The brain is the only organ in your body that is called a social organ. And what that means is it grows and builds connectivity due to the level of healthy connections. There is some famous studies done by children in some pretty tough orphanages that show that a lack of connection, the brain is smaller than children of their same age who were born in more connected environments. So, what pollutes the water? And this is an open discussion we had, and you can have this discussion with your own family. What's polluting the water in your home? What's polluting the water if you're a teacher in your classroom? Is it the stress? Is it not being connected to your family, your own family? Maybe a husband and wife are struggling together. Is it money problems? That came up a lot. Is it technology? Technology breaks natural attunement. This is not something that anyone should be surprised by. I get tickled every time I do a training on technology. Yeah, we know, but what are we going to do? Well, the reason it's so easy is because they're turning into, if you give a child, and this is a terrible way of phrasing it, but it's the best one I've seen so far, and England has done a great job using these phrases. If you give an infant or a toddler a tablet, it's almost like a tech pacifier. And then for your threes and fours and fives, it becomes a tech babysitter. And then for your six, sevens, and eights, it becomes a tech friend. And then for, your middle school and upper, it becomes a tech parent. They're starting to use these now to get advice from AI instead of going to adults. So we lay tech in and they become dependent on this. And that is not how the human brain is made to develop. But anyways, is it they don't belong? They're in an environment that doesn't accept them. They don't like or feel like they're part of school because they're different. It could be anything here. This is a lot that goes on. So this is what pollutes the water. You got to figure this out. 75% of children's behavior, and when I should say 75% of children, the behavior improves if we clean up the water. Now, let me say this about families and parenting. Sometimes the water gets dirty. And I love this statement right here because as a mom and a career woman, goodness gracious, I'm not overwhelmed because I can't handle it. I'm overwhelmed because I do handle it, all of the time. We are tired. We are a tired society. And if you look at a lot of 20 and 30-year-olds right now, they are exhausted. They have low rates of happiness. They have high rates of loneliness because social media is taking away the tribe, the friendships, the relationships that are needed to raise a child. You're watching hundreds of videos, thousands of videos of how to make the next best game to play with your kid, or watching, other people on whatever platform you're on, what their kids doing better than yours, and then you start pushing yours harder. We can't keep living this way and expecting the adults to be okay and then expecting the kids to be okay. We have a phrase, if the adults are not okay, the kids will not be okay. You got to get the adults right first. So what cleans the water? This is an open discussion. What can you do? Well, I almost hate to say this word because eyes roll constantly. Self-care, y'all. Take care of yourself. I don't care if it's going into your closet, if that's the only place you got some peace, and just sitting for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and breathing. I don't care if it's you setting the alarm at 4 a.m. because your littlest one gets up at 4:30 a.m. before the sun, and you just need 20 minutes. Just 20 minutes of practicing gratitude, making a to-do list, setting intentions for the day, whatever it is you need to do to ground yourself before the chaos of the day swings up. Set aside times of uninterrupted connection with everyone in the family. Whether it's even driving in a car, especially if you got teenagers or middle schoolers that think you're stupid and not cool. Even if it's sometimes riding in a car is one of the best places to talk to people. Because think about it, you're sitting parallel, you're sharing space, and it's an easy way. Some of my best conversations with the kids when we were on little road trips places. What cleans your water? What else would? Maybe sitting down and having a family meeting about some of the stuff that's not working in the house. Everyone contributes ideas about how to help it, how to fix it. We're all in this together. It ain't just on one person to clean the fishbowl. Everybody's got to help clean the fishbowl. We all live here. We got to clean it up. It ain't all on one person. So here's the biggest thing. We're designed to connect and not with Wi-Fi, with each other. We're designed to look at each other. We're designed to talk to each other. We're designed to smile. Children develop, their brains develop with strong relationships. Ask me how much this cost. $0. Zero. But you got to be intentional about it. And you used to never have to be intentional about it. But now the world is pulling your hand every single hour saying, look at this, look at this, look at this. And you got to jerk your hand back and say, no, I'm doing this. We have to set these boundaries because I'm telling you, children's brains are primed to connect with us. Let's even look at something simple. If you have an infant and you're nursing your infant, don't be on your cell phone. If you're nursing your baby and you're looking down, that baby's eyes can see your face 8 to 10 inches. But if you are on that phone and your head is turned, that baby is looking at your ear. You're breaking natural attunement. That is just a simple, simple way, one way we think attunement is being broken with technology. I think the best role I can have is if I don't care what you do for work, I don't care what you do, unless you're a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon, someone's going to die. If a child is in the room, your cell phone cannot be seen, not face down, not on mute, because they have done studies that say if you are working at your computer trying to get something done, and you've got your cell phone even across the room, they will measure your eyes and your eyes will look to it repeatedly because that's how drawn we are to the phone. We are driven by a world of notifications and they are programming it to make it so hard to put down because they make money every time you open it up. All right. Children borrow our calm before they build their own. One of my favorite things about this is being in a store like Walmart, a child losing their mind with a temper tantrum and the parent losing their mind right with them. You cannot put a fire out with gasoline. If you're a raving wackadoodle, your kids are going to be a raving wackadoodle. One of the things whenever I'm working with the kid who's losing their mind and losing their temper is I take some breaths, I get myself grounded, I get myself calm because they're going to have to borrow my calm to get themselves out of it. I've been on the earth longer. I go first. I just think that's fair. If I've had more practice, shouldn't I be the one better at it? I don't see that with parents and kids sometimes out in public. Ooh, this is a hard, heavy slide because a lot of times people will ask me, Joy, how do I make them stop? How do I make them? How do I fix this? A lot of times, most children don't need fixing. They need a clean fishbowl with routines, a schedule. They need that connection piece. They need to have a family that is excited that they're there. And it doesn't have to be wealthy. I don't want you to take your kids to Disney World or spend a ton of money. They're little. They're still fascinated about why the grass is green. Just get them outside. Or maybe they're fascinated about the red bird on a bird feeder or a red bird in a tree. I had a mom stop me, a teacher who was a mom, of course, those teachers have dual jobs. And she stopped me after a training, and her child was 7 and had some pretty scary tags behind their name. And she said to me, "What am I going to do? How do I help her?" And the first thing I said was, "What does she love?" And she looked at me. I don't care about the diagnosis behind them. That just tells me how the brain processes information. It's not your child. It's not your child. Your child still is a child. The child still needs these elements. And she's like, she's fascinated with meteorology. I said, "And what else?" She said, "Space, the moon." I said, "Then you are now going to become the biggest nerd ever on the moon, on the stars, on meteorology. You're going to download 3 apps and you're going to compare the weather on the 3 apps and why one app is different from 2 apps. You are going to become the biggest nerd there is in that area. Because here's why. That's your pathway into connecting with her so we can then get her to start moving with us. A lot of times we expect kids to be in our world, but we don't jump into theirs. What do your kids love? I remember my son loved Thomas the Train. That's how old he is now. And Bob the Builder. And if you don't know who Bob the Builder is, you missed a good time of American TV. I'm just kidding. Bob the Builder, Thomas the Train. Woo! And we didn't have a lot. We weren't able to buy all the fancy. If you remember, Thomas the Train was this wooden set that was terribly expensive. And thank goodness, I'm aging myself and my son. Books a Million had Thomas the Train sets always set out. So we would go to Books a Million and just sit for an hour and play with their trains. We didn't even buy books. They just want to play trains. Because I sure heck could not afford the table and all the mountains and all the wooden trains. Thank goodness Target came out with plastic ones, but guess what? My son, those weren't real Thomas the Trains. He liked the wooden ones. Bob the Builder was the same way. We couldn't afford all the toys, but we were able to still put some nails in a tree stump and give him a hammer. He loved it. If we had problems around the house, we're like, "Whoa, we need help fixing this. Who are we going to call?" And he would come running. This is why, your kids may love sports. My daughter did competitive swim from the age of 5 till like 20. I was a swim mom. I don't like swim, but guess what I started doing? Swimming. We would go to the pool together and I would swim. And I realized how hard it was. And I stopped yelling at her in the stands for not swimming as fast because I realized I sure swim like a manatee. Can't make my times. This is what you do to make this connection piece. Become an expert. And you know what? One year you may be an expert in birds, and the next year you may be an expert in dinosaurs, and the next year you may be an expert in BMC bikes. I don't care. Whenever I work with kids at schools, first thing I ask them is, "What do you like?" And I become an expert in what they like. Because if I can have that connection, then I've got cooperation. All right. So before we ask what's wrong with the fish, we got to ask what's happening in the water. Where's the disconnect? Where's the stress? Where's the gunk coming from? This is only a question you can answer. If the adults are not okay, the kids will not be okay. You can't pour from an empty cup, so you got to take care of yourself. Kids regulate through our nervous systems. Their nervous systems are still developing. In fact, they've even come out in late December of 2025 with new developmental eras of brain development. It's fascinating. Look it up. Adolescence is now almost, I think, into the low 30s, 32, I believe. We are now learning the brain takes a long time to develop. Yet we expect a 5-year-old to have every capacity we struggle with. We expect a 5-year-old to be able to handle disappointment, yet we don't handle it. And disappointment to a 5-year-old, stress to a 5-year-old is I wanted the red cup and you gave me the blue cup. Stress to us is we can't pay the power bill. They've got to learn to handle small things, true, to get to the big things, but we can't minimize their struggles and not help them with it. We have to help them through it, help them understand disappointment, help them build cognitive flexibility, help them understand thinking, because that's what we do. We teach, we discipline. To discipline is to teach. And I'm not going to keep beating that dead horse because that has been said 1,000 times, but it's true. Discipline challenges the brain and it grows the brain and it teaches the missing skills. That is what we're trying to do. So how do we clean the water? How do we take care of yourself? For the love of all that is holy, there is so much science out on this. Get some sleep. Put your children to bed. No technology. You know technology before bed. Definitely do not go to bed watching technology. And if they already are, it's going to be an absolute struggle to pull them off of that. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm not even going to lie to you on that one. The room needs to be dark. I'm not saying pitch black dark where they're scared to death, but I'm just saying we don't need a TV on. We don't need a lot of noise. We definitely don't need a lamp on. The brain needs to rest. Your brain needs to rest. Do not stay up till midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., knowing you got to get up at 6 a.m. and trying to be some kind of person when your brain is exhausted. And the same with your children. Find your people. Have those connections. And if they're toxic, find better people. Don't sit around the negative Nancy's. Don't sit around the people who are always like, these children are so bad. Why'd I have children? Well, those kind of people were probably bad as children too, and the adults around them told them the same thing. Sit with people who are excited about being parents. Sit with people who like it. Talk to people who have kind of done research in areas that you're interested in, whether it's discipline, whether it's painting, I don't care. Whatever you want, find your people. Who are you connected to? And understand this. I've got mentors who are younger than me because they understand technology 1,000 times better than I do. And I've got mentors older than me. Find your people. Lower the impossible standards. You will never be perfect. You will, no one is. I don't care what they put on Facebook. I don't care what they put on Instagram. I don't care what video they make. I don't care how much they're blogging or influencing. No one is perfect. You're comparing your life to someone else's highlight reels. Stop it. Move your body. If you are not moving, your brain is stagnant. Move your body. I don't care if it's just dance breaks in the kitchen. I don't care if it's just walking. You're going to promise yourself every time you eat, you're going to walk for 10 minutes after every meal. Just something simple. Move your body. This is why when people get mad, they're like, I'm going to take a walk. There's science behind it. You're going to build those build those tiny recovery moments. 5 minutes count. Every night, write down things that you're grateful for that day. I had a friend, she had a jar, and she would write down 2 or 3 great things good things that happened that day. At the end of the year, she had a jar full of great things that happened for that whole year before. And she would sit and read them on New Year's Eve and realize just how much she forgot good happened because the brain's always going to remember the negative over the positive. And then look, ask for help early. We all need help. No one, no one can do this alone. There's a reason there's a phrase that says it takes a village to raise a child. No one can do this alone. Ask for help. Find help. There's tons of resources out there that will help you. Every adult needs something to clean their water. These are simple places. I'm telling you, a good night's sleep, the world's a better place the next day. Start setting a consistent bedtime for your children, set a consistent bedtime for yourself, set a consistent wake up time. Start getting in that pattern of healthy sleep, and you're going to see things a lot different. A sleep deprived brain is a depressed brain. So here you go. The fishbowl, the adults have to be okay for the kids to be okay. Here's our takeaways. Here's what we know. Children don't need those perfect adults. They need adults who are supported and cared for, supported, connected, and cared for. And then also, we can't change the fish, but we can always change the water. And when we improve the water, the fish often improves too. Don't hold yourself to such a high standard that you're stressing yourself out. It's tough out here right now. Economy is tough. A lot of us are struggling. And then we're also drowning in information that some of it's not helpful and changes a lot. I'm in the world of neuroscience. It changes daily because we're always finding new stuff out. But we can cling to what we do know. We cling to what the brain does know. All right. I hope this has been helpful and we will talk soon. Oh, I want to share with you one other piece. Sorry, I forgot about this. This is called Off the Cuff. It is a podcast I have with a dear friend, Anthony Brooks, and you can find it on YouTube. You're more than welcome to go. It's got some great, well, it's got some videos. I don't know if they're great or not. People have said they are, but who knows? It got some videos that may be helpful to you, understanding kids, understanding different behaviors. He's more of a teenage, that world is his world, and I'm more of the whole birth all the way up to adolescence. So it's a fun, we try to keep it fun and short. Y'all know how to find me. I hope it was helpful, and we'll talk soon.